I met you in the I met you in the
Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. Today it's just me, it's an audio. Hi Spotify, hi YouTube, welcome back. I know it's been such a long time since I filmed one of these episodes, but we are back and today I am going to talk about 2020. It's going to be the big topic. Since there's so much going on this year, it's going to be the big topic. This is what we're going to talk about in the podcast today. And I hope that you guys are excited for this episode, as this is my first solo episode. It's so wild, the fact that I've been doing this podcast for such a long time, but I've never had a solo episode. So my publisher and I decided that this is going to be a solo episode. She sent in some questions for me to answer. And yeah, I hope you're as excited as I am. So, as we know, 2020 has been such a big year. It's been rough, honestly, for some of us. We're just barely surviving 2020. Some of us are surviving 2020. It depends on where you are. You know what I mean? Like, it's been wild. And it's fine to feel anxious, as, you know, the times are not certain. And it's fine to feel a certain way, obviously, because, like what I said, it's been a crazy year, guys. And we have to be so grateful because we went through 2020, and that's like amazing because, you know, the world was going to end, but it didn't. It hasn't. So we have to be grateful for that. So my publisher Aurel sent me some questions, and we are going to be answering them and going to be discussing them as you're listening to this podcast. Obviously, you can reflect along and answer along and tell me about your 2020. So the first question is, what is the biggest challenge you have been through in this year of 2020? This is crazy. So this is a very good question, actually. The biggest challenge I've actually went through is, I think, persevering itself is just so hard. I never understood how hard perseverance is, and I never really understood what it is until this year, because obviously, like, guys, it was a lot this year. I'm actually class of 2020, so I was supposed to graduate this year, and I did graduate high school, but it was just crazy the way we graduated with the coronavirus pandemic. And yeah, not seeing people, and honestly, guys, my last day of school was crazy. It was like we didn't even know that the world was gonna end, or like we're never gonna see each other again, and everybody was just so busy in the last day of school, and no one knew any information that it was the last day of school. We just went our separate ways, and then on Monday until now, school was forever canceled. So that was a highlight that I wouldn't forget my whole life. So that itself for me is a challenge. And that itself for me is obviously, like, you know, a big thing to look back to. But I'm just very grateful that I've got to experience all of that, and being able to understand that that's just the way it is. Like, life is just like that, and be okay with it. Just cool. So the second question kind of leads into what the first is, and what have 2020 taught you? Wow, guys, honestly speaking, I think we both, or anybody who's listening, if you're alone, you and I can agree that 2020 has taught us a lot of things, whether it is, you know, working on your mental health, working on your physical health, working on your relationship with other people. There's just a lot of things that 2020 has personally taught me. So I want you guys to tell me, if you guys are listening to this on YouTube, on the comment section, like, what has 2020 taught you? What's the greatest thing you've learned in 2020, and what has it brought you? For me personally, 2020 has been, like what I said, insane and wild. It has taught me a lot of things, like perseverance, patience, you know, understanding myself, learning about myself, finding myself. And I know that all of that sounds really cliche in a way, and just like sappy, but it's true, guys. Honestly, 2020 has been wild, but it has taught me a lot more than just what I knew before. It has taught me how to, you know myself even better in a way that I've never knew myself like that, which is really crazy. And so awesome at the same time. Wow, okay. This is a really crazy question. The third question. What will you do if you can redo the year of 2020? Wow, guys. This is some nice questions. Okay, so again, if you guys are listening on YouTube, you guys can go comment on the comment section along with the questions. I'll put the questions down there in the description so you guys can actually answer along with me. So, well, if I could redo 2020, first of all, if I knew that the coronavirus was going to happen, was obviously I wouldn't say fix, but I would rekindle some of the relationships I had with my friends and some people, so that when I know that, in the long term that it's going to be like this, I would be prepared for it and understand that, oh, there's going to be a global pandemic, and like I want to keep in touch with the certain people, so I have to make my move quick before I actually lost contact and XYZ. So I would do that. And obviously, if I knew that, actually, I don't know if the question says if I knew, so I guess I'll just say both ways. So if I knew there was going to be like a global pandemic, obviously I'd be more prepared. I would be, geared up from January, February, and March. That 3 months, I would just, not waste so much time being alone. Sometimes I do like thinking and being alone, and I would socialize even more. I would, go out to parties and events that I turned down, and I would just be more lively, to be honest. And I think this year, I don't even know why I wasn't that lively. Maybe my inner self knew that there was going to be a pandemic, and I was like, you know what, it's time to say goodbye or something. I don't know. So that's one thing. If I could redo 2020, I would do that. I would be more social. I would reach out more. I would just connect more in a way. Not that I can't connect now, but like, if we're being honest, guys, like this whole Zoom, WhatsApp, FaceTime thing, it's just so much difference than like interacting with people in real life, which is crazy because we used to take those things for granted, and now that we don't have it, we're like, oh, like I miss that interaction with, let's say my friend like Anushka, my friend Ruhani, like I miss them. And obviously, like I've been interacting with them through these social media platforms, FaceTime and all these things, but it's not enough. It's different, guys. We're human beings, and we just want to interact. We want to have physical contact. We want physical touch. Like, we want to hug. We want to high five our friends. We want to communicate with them in person, be real, be vulnerable. And it just hits different when you're in like a WhatsApp call. You can just see their faces. Well, thanks to technology that we're able to do that. But at the same time, like what I said, it totally hit different. And I just wish that if I knew, like I would do things differently, I guess, in certain ways. But yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. Wow. Okay, the fourth question is, if 2020 was an object, what will that be and why? Wow. Okay, these questions are really creative. So, okay, Aurel, I don't know where you're getting these questions, but it's so creative. So I think 2020 were an object. I would say that, I don't know if, a tumbleweed is a plant, so I'm not sure like if I would identify that as an object, but I guess I would describe it as a tumbleweed. I know it's kind of weird because like they're just so complicated. They're all tangled up together, and then they're like, they have those thorn, and it's just like if your hands touch the tumbleweed, it'll hurt, but like at the same time, it's so wrapped up and tangled up. I think it's a representative of how complicated 2020 has been. It's a representative of how devastating this year has been. But at the same time, I feel like tumbleweeds are very unique. Like it's just so unique. It's different than any other plant I've seen, and 2020 is kind of like that. It's unique, and it has its own uniqueness in a way, but at the same time, it's like, it's all tangled up together that it's not easy for people to untangle. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like it's not an easy thing for people to untangle. That's 2020. That's a definition of 2020. So the fifth question is, do you actually do something productive during the lockdown? Okay, so as you guys know, with the Coffee and Conversation podcast, this podcast you're listening to, I actually started it on 2020. And so I guess that's a productive thing, right? Am I not answering the question? Yes, I am. Okay, so yeah, the Coffee and Conversation podcast, and I guess this whole channel kind of was inspired by not really 2020, but it's just kind of inspired by finding my own passion in a way where it's very in limited times to find and develop passion. You know, people normally find passion by, joining a class or experiencing from certain youth camps or some camps or anything. But obviously with the circumstances given, like, we're not able to do that. And being able to just have this podcast, Coffee and Conversation, that you're listening to, please stream on Spotify and YouTube. It's a blessing disguise, it's one of those things that are just unexpected, but also very special to me. The fact that I can have this podcast and obviously reach out to people and have people listen to this platform is just amazing. It's an overall journey, and I think this is maybe one of the most productive thing I've done during the lockdown. And other than that, obviously, I have online school, online college. That has been, a lot of work and energy, but I'm still thriving. I'm grateful to have those. So yeah, those are and also spending quality time with people, obviously. That's one of the things that I don't know why I don't think people view that as like productivity, but now that I'm in lockdown and I understand that that's actually a very valuable thing and very precious, and it is productive, guys. These human relationship, we're so busy, caught up in a very busy life, that we don't understand that these relationship, they matter. Our day-to-day relationship with people, they matter, and they're so special, and it's part of living, it's a productive thing. So yeah, that's the productive things that I've done during the lockdown. Oh, this is an interesting question. So she said, do you think there will be difference for Christmas this year? So I think the question is whether Christmas would feel different this year. Well, first of all, a general answer is yes. I think Christmas would be different and would look different this year. However, I think it's so crazy because, guys, think about it. Christmas, I feel like we always have this idea and vision in our head that Christmas has to be festive, big, big ass Christmas tree, or loud music, ice skating ring, Times Square, New York. I mean, if you're in New York, honey, I'm jealous of you, but I'm not, so this is a different story. And, we've always had this, vision that Christmas is a big thing, and it's this holiday greetings and, gathering with everybody and presents and all trees and all that. But now that we're in this position, each of us are at home spending time with our family, Christmas has always been about family, and it's been about gathering, and it's been about the warming gift and all that. But how do you guys think it impacts each one of you this year? What does Christmas really means to you? Is it really the big gifts that you get from people, or is it truly the people that you're with? And I think this year the meaning of Christmas really hits me in a way because, well, it's not Christmas yet now, and nor will it be Christmas the time I release this podcast. But think about it, what is Christmas to you? All these years we've been just having different perception of what Christmas is, and now that we're stuck at home, obviously, what is Christmas to you? What does it mean? And actually, this is kind of a side note. If you guys want to check it out, I actually wrote this Christmas song for church that I'm gonna be releasing here on my YouTube channel. So check that out if you later on. I guess I'll put the link in the description if I did. And so what is Christmas? And I think the meaning of Christmas this year, it actually really it hits me a lot that Christmas is just not about the big parties. It's not about like the presents, but it's just about what it really means to you. Because yes, it's a holiday. It's a big holiday that people all over the world would celebrate. But where exactly is the meaning of Christmas? Like, what is it? Where is it? You know, how do you identify it as a person? Like those questions are some things that I myself am beginning to identify this year, and understanding that like, wow, like 2020 is crazy. And like one of the things that's crazy is like, you know, these holidays like Christmas, Easter, and all these things, like what do they actually mean to you this year? So yeah, I think that it would be so different, but I want you guys to reflect on that questions that I asked you just now. So number 7, list your biggest accomplishment in 2020. Wow. Okay. Honestly, guys, let's be honest. I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. It's just, you know, it's just a lockdown. And obviously, there's nothing else going on that's festive or anything. But I feel like I do accomplish certain things in 2020. So graduating from school, obviously, that's like one of the biggest highlight. I guess that's not a biggest highlight. That's a highlight. The fact that I survived 12 years of education. I can't even believe I went to school for 12 years. Honestly, guys, I've never been an academic person, and when it comes to school, I'm just like, I'm grateful to be there, but it's not my forte, and I'm gonna embrace the fact that it's not my forte. And yeah, so that's one of my biggest accomplishment. And I think just, I don't know if people would view this as like an accomplishment, but understanding myself even more, and like being able to have these like friendships, and knowing my friend. I feel like this year has taught me that some people can be your friends, but they're not necessarily your friends. They're probably just an acquaintance. And you have to have that small group amount of friend, I always call mine my inner circle, to have your foundation. Guys, honestly speaking, I know this is a little bit off track, but having an inner circle is like one of the greatest things I've had in my life. My friends that I knew, like I have like 5, maybe like 4 inner circles. And honestly, guys, I'm fine with having that much people, because that's enough for me. Like, to me, that's enough. That's like a solid foundation. And yeah, I mean, like, your family should also be like part of your foundation. But, you know, like, you also have to have your friends, and you have to be able to have those inner circle to have your support. Like, if, you know, now that we're living with our family, sometimes there are a lot of miscommunication that happens, misunderstanding, and honestly, your family's not with you 24/7 all the time. And, you know, as a millennial, obviously, your friends have a big impact on you. So you have to understand the people you surround yourself with, and you have to have that foundation. So I think having an inner circle was honestly one of my biggest accomplishments, because I finally found that foundation, and like tribe in a way, where I can like lean on to and have them as having my back. So yeah, that's like my biggest accomplishment. Okay, so the next question, not second, sorry. Who and what are you grateful for in 2020? Wow. Okay. So, who? I'm grateful for so many people, guys. It's been like this year, it's so crazy, because I feel like I've known these people, like these people that I've grown closer with in 2020. Like, I've known them before. It's not like they're total stranger, but it's like I've never had a relationship with them, and I've never knew them for who they are until this year. And now that I know them, I'm like, wow, like, I've known you for so long, but we've never actually built a relationship. And now that like it's the end of 2020, like, it's so crazy the fact that I didn't even know that I was gonna click with you. Like, an example of this would be like my cousin. Like, I've known them my whole life, but I feel like I've never really interacted with them until this year. And just so much has happened. Now she's like one of, you know, my down for the ride kind of type of dude, you know. It's been so wild, and I'm so grateful for, you know, again, my inner circle. I'm so grateful for them. I'm extremely grateful for my nieces and my nephews. I can't stop talking about them. I'm so obsessed with them. I think they just light my life. I feel like they're God's greatest blessing to me, honestly. I feel like they've given me purpose to live, honestly speaking. I'm grateful for my family, I guess, and I know I am, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm grateful for my family, my nieces and my nephew, especially. I'm so grateful for them. My inner circle, I'm grateful for, still having shelter and living. It's just, these simple things that just kind of open up my eyes. So that's for the things I'm grateful for. This next question, any hopes or wishes for this year's Christmas? Okay, so this is an interesting question. Actually, I think my hope and my wishes this year is just, honestly, I just want the coronavirus vaccine out. I know that people are working on it, and the medical team from all over the world, all over, the U.S. and I think China or something. Like, I don't know a lot about these, but like they're working on the vaccine and kind of spreading it all over the world. And I'm kind of grateful that it's happening now. And with the development of technology, obviously it kind of speeds things up more. And I just hope that it's going to be out so that, our normal life could come back and we can start seeing each other and seeing friends and family and, just spreading joy and love. And I think it's the last thing that, I just wish that next year everything's just going to be normal again. So there's not really much to that. That's all I have to say for that. Okay, so we're actually in the last question. Wow, it's been 21 minutes since I record this. So the last question is, do you have any upcoming project for next year? Okay. This is interesting. So I've been developing this channel for a while now, throughout this year, and there's obviously been a lot of things happening here and there. And I think one of the things that I want to do next year is vlog more and kind of document more about not just my life, but just like the experience that I went through. And there's just a lot of exciting project coming. I also want to put out more podcasts. I want to invite more guests. I want to do Coffee and Conversation Season 3. I want to improve on the things that I didn't in this podcast. And I just want to be more creative next year. I want to put out more content for people to watch and do more collaborations and just exciting things coming. So just stay tuned for that. And I'm so excited for you guys. Thank you so much for, obviously being in my 2020, for listening to this podcast, for sharing this podcast, for if you're engaged with this podcast. Like, honestly, I don't know who would hear my podcast, to be honest, but thank you for engaging and for listening, for tuning in. I really appreciate each one of you guys. So yeah, this kind of just wrap up my 2020, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Keep listening to the podcast. There's going to be more content. Next week, we're going to have Sarah on the podcast, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for listening.
I met you in my